Nancy Swart. Nancy, welcome.
Thank you.
And next to Nancy is another District 26 school board candidate, Lorraine Perry.
Hi, thanks for having us.
It is my honor. Lorraine, I'm going to start with you. This is a vicious time to be running for school board. Governor Pritzker has funneled $500,000 to viciously attack everyday moms and dads. Why did you want to run for school board?
Well, when my kids were at home during COVID, I saw some of the things that they were learning, and I didn't necessarily agree with everything. And then I also have two kids in dual language that I thought that they just weren't being able to learn the second language Spanish remotely. And then when we went back into the schools and they had to wear the masks, how are you supposed to learn a second language when you can't even see how to speak it? And I just got tired of waiting for somebody else to stand up for the same things that I believe in. So I got tired of waiting, and I said, if nobody else is going to stand up for the things that I want, I guess I'll have to do it. And so I decided to run.
Wow. Well, thank you. Nancy, same question to you. As we know, story after story, week after week, that we're featuring school board candidates, moms and dads, candidates are under attack every single day. Nancy, why in the heck do you want to run for school board?
Well, unlike Lorraine, I don't have any children in school, but my kids were raised in District 26 in 155, so they graduated through Cary's school system. A couple of years ago, I was sitting in the backyard with some young moms, and they were telling me what was going on with the schools, and I was amazed. I thought, how can this be? This is not what I experienced when my kids were in school. And so it basically lit a fire underneath me. I had toyed with the idea of running for school board years ago, decades ago, but now was the time. So here I am today, and I'm here to make a difference for the kids, making them be first in our education process.
And thank you, and God bless you. I mean, this is a tough time. I can't reiterate that. Lorraine, have you come under attacks, or fellow school board candidates, have you come under attacks? And if so, the question is, where do you find your inspiration? Because you didn't sign up for this. You didn't sign up for these attacks. None of these school board candidates, everyday moms and dads, you didn't sign up for this. Yeah. But where's your inspiration come from on some of those tough days?
Well, we really haven't had any direct attacks. The only thing I've seen is they might say, we don't support the teachers. We're not for the kids. I've seen some of that. I've seen our faces where they put us on Antifa sites and things like that. But the inspiration for me is my kids. I want them to know that I'm willing to stand up for them and for their future, and to know what my beliefs are. And I believe that, they should be taught the basics. And I want them to have a great education in the dual language program that I think is suffering a little bit. And I don't want them to be taught certain things that I think I should be teaching them when it comes to like sex education and things like that. I think that should be taught by me, not by them, by the schools.
You're 100% right on that. Nancy, we've seen across the board, and forgive me because I'm not as familiar with District 26, but we've seen across the board of student test scores dropping. Is that the case in Cary? Could you kind of explain just sort of, children haven't recovered from the pandemic because of shutdowns and remote learning. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, I think that we became aware during that time, but unfortunately, the test scores were falling even before COVID. And the schools do have a schools report card, which anyone can go look up online. And I even posted this on my card that I put out, that 64% of the District 26 students do not read and write at grade level. That's appalling to me. Wow. And 75% of District 26 students perform below grade level in math. And, these are, as Lorraine said, these are the basics. These are the basics. If we can't get the basics right, what are we doing this other stuff? We need to go back, start all over, and come back home where we need to be and do those basic education.
Again, this is worth repeating. 64% of District 26 students do not read and write at grade level. 75% of District 26 students perform below grade level in math. Lorraine, how do we stop this? How do we reverse this very dangerous trend?
We need to go back to the basics. We need to, especially in math, I think we need to focus more on adding, subtracting, multiplication, all the basics of how I was taught in school instead of the 5 or 6 different ways that make it confusing for the kids. I know when I'm trying to do homework with my 9-year-old or even my 12-year-old, I have to re-explain things and I have to try to teach them, we have this Common Core, but if you don't understand it that way, the purpose of the Common Core is to try to teach you a way that you can understand it. But if you don't, let's do it this way that I was taught, the way that the kids do understand. So I think we need to get back to the basics. And I think that's how they can be successful in school again.
Lorraine, since you have students right now, how were they during the pandemic and these shutdowns?
It was very hard for them. I know my middle child, who is 12, he didn't really want to even attend school. And then he had a lot of issues afterwards where it comes to, it took him almost an entire year to be back in school before he was even really willing to want to sit down and learn and not be so angry all the time. So he's finally getting back to normal, to where he's his normal happy self and he's fine with being in school. But it took a long time. And if we didn't have that shutdown and they were able to see their friends and just attend normal classes, he wouldn't have had to experience that. I think we could have avoided this whole situation if they just had normal school days.
Nancy, the stories that are surfacing, and they've been there all along during this pandemic, of just the mental and psychological and emotional torture inflicted on these children during the pandemic. Nancy, how do we reverse this? Because so much damage has been done to these poor students.
I think it's important in life to be set on a solid foundation. And when our children are removed from that, when there are no solids in their life, when you can just do this or do that and everything can come into a child's life, they don't know what to grab onto. So that funnel needs to be specific, and there needs to be that foundation, that critical thinking that they need to break through in life to succeed. And if you don't have that critical thinking skill in your life, then you're going to be caught up in every kind of doctrine that comes around. And that makes you insecure. And we all know that during COVID, that was a big problem. These kids became very insecure about who they are and what they were thinking. And they, another thing I look at is as Lorraine is saying about not being able to help your child in a classroom, the parent. When the school comes between a parent and a child, if you're teaching that child something the parent can't help with, that's not right. I call it evil. I call it evil because you want to nurture that family unit. You don't want to tear it apart.
That's right. It is evil. My last question, it's unfortunately we're running out of time, but Lorraine, where can we get information on your campaign?
My campaign information is www.lorraine, L-O-R-A-I-N-E, Perry, Perry.com.
And Nancy, same question to you. Where can we get information on your campaign?
www.nancy4d26.com.
Nancy Swart and Lorraine Perry joining me live here in studio, District 26. Again, can't reiterate this enough. 64% of students in District 26 cannot read or write at grade level. That is shocking. How do we expect them to be competitive? How do we expect them to be competitive when the school is totally disinterested in them? And we're seeing these numbers, 75% of District 26 students perform below grade level in math. Ladies and gentlemen, this is completely unacceptable, and this is why we need candidates like Lorraine Perry and Nancy Swart and so many others joining in this fight. You're listening to Mark My Words. We'll be right back.